stone and mortar could talk. This is Valerie Wedel. I teach basic hand drafting at Front Range Community College, Westminster campus. Hand drafting of architectural drawings is an absolutely gorgeous art form, as well as a language of communication. It is for centuries how our buildings got built. In fact, the advent of computer-aided drafting is really only a few decades old. So most of our architecture that's older was built without a computer. So what I teach my students is how to use a T-square, a triangle, a lead holder, and an HB lead, which is a specific type of graphite that's about as hard as a number 2 pencil. And if you went to school in the 1900s, you know what those are. There is a steep learning curve, especially for today's young people who have grown up with computers. Many of my students walk into the studio literally never having held a sketchbook and a pencil to make a drawing all the way through their school years. So that's one learning curve. Another learning curve is, what are these tools and how do you use them? And then another learning curve is the language of line. To an architect or a designer or a contractor, there is a language of line. How thick a line is, how it is placed on the sheet, if it is solid or dotted, and what the dot patterns might be. All of these things speak. They tell a story. That is also a learning curve. So the way I approach this is with 2 projects and then smaller assignments sprinkled throughout, all designed to wake up the eye and the hand and connect them, and to learn this beautiful language of line, and to have a little fun with it. You start with a vision, and you need to put that vision on paper. And we all start with either sketchbook or trace. Trace paper is very thin, very fragile, and you can see through it. So it is beloved by designers and architects because you can layer it. You could do a sketch, throw another sheet over it, change it, throw another sheet, change it, and you end up with a composite drawing from which you can then make a final design. So working with trace and pencil is part of what the students do. That's not the whole story. They need to produce beautiful drawings. I teach them the old school method of ink on vellum. So they start learning how to use pencil on trace and in a sketchbook, and then they go all the way up to a finished set of architectural drawings on ink and vellum, which could be taken to a permitting desk, given to a client, given to a contractor to estimate how much the job will cost. And that leap is huge. Last semester, working on Zoom, some of my students really struggled. They had a very hard time going from trace to vellum, pencil to ink. And what I had everybody do was make a set of drawings on trace and pencil first. Once they knew what they were drawing, make the final ink drawings on vellum. Some of the students struggled so hard and burned out, and their ink and vellum sheets were not as good as some of their pencil underlays. Other students, who also had never drawn before, made this beautiful leap, and when they got to the ink on vellum, they said, "Hey, I caught some errors on my pencil drawings, can I fix them?" And I'm like, yes. And their vellum drawings were far better than their underlays. What I would like to do is make sure all the students improve and that I don't lose some of them. So what I came up with is, from the site plan as pencil on trace, to develop site elevations without necessarily having to do those layers of trace. So here's how you do that. You use the site plan as an underlay. You lay your blank sheet on top of it, and it can be trace, and you can do this with pencil. You construct your first site elevation directly from the site plan, and then you can construct the second site elevation showing the proposed construction directly that way also. You can also do that straight onto vellum. approach. I documented in studio with 2 videos for my students they could refer back to. I will give you the links on the closing screen. They have now done this drawing, and the results I'm seeing are amazing. So what I hope is that the students that have struggled more now already see they've got ink on vellum, and it's beautiful, and that gives them encouragement and motivation to keep going. It also has moved them a little closer to finishing Project 2 a little bit earlier in the semester. So they are now taking all of their initial drawings and preparing them from this point forward only on vellum, either lightly in pencil for review and feedback and correction, or all the way to ink if they know what they're drawing. And it will be very exciting to see what happens at the end of the semester with Project 2. My hope is that I'm going to see this beautiful improvement on the entire project for all the students that I am seeing on this one little sheet of drawings for all of the students. It's exciting. We'll see what happens. At this moment in time, I believe this is going to work better because I'm already seeing an improvement over last semester. All the students are doing better, even the ones that have never held a drawing tool before. And they're all a little bit further along at this point in the semester than they were before. The final proof will be in that final project too, but we won't see that until May. It's exciting. Stay tuned. We'll see what happens next.